It was an offseason that we will all remember. And in the final season of the Pac-12 as we know it, comes season 3 of the It Factory. It will be full of players that are on preseason watch lists, will be on future NFL draft lists. As always, we will take the helmet off of the top players on the West Coast and tap into who they are and why they stand out. I'm Yogi Roth, and welcome back to the It Factory. Welcome back, or welcome to the It Factory in Season 3. I'm your host, Yogi Roth, and we are heading into Episode 3. And you can call this one Bodacious, maybe? Yes, because it's on Bo Nix. Had a chance to spend some time with Bo Nix this summer, building a feature that you'll see on the Pac-12 networks and wherever you look at social media. And I love our dialogue because we go deep on his journey, growing up as an athlete, going to Auburn as a football player, as a quarterback following his father, and then finally finding joy at Oregon and playing for the Ducks. So I want to start with this because I go back to, I remember the first time meeting you, and I think about you as a teenager and the dreams that you had then. So I'm curious, what at 16 was like your initial college football dream?
My initial college football dream was simply to play quarterback at Auburn and beat Alabama and win a national championship. That's like growing up, that's all I wanted to do. My dad got to do it, so that's kind of like I could see it, and it gave me perspectives that, maybe I could do it. And then when I started playing football, things kind of fell in line, and I had an opportunity to go and play there. And when it got time to make that decision, it was like, I almost can't do that to myself because I had this goal, had this dream my whole entire life. I want to go pursue it and see what I can do.
We have this old photo of you on signing day in high school. You're signing your letter of intent and you're about to pursue this dream that you just described. What if I had paused that day and I said, you know what? I'm going to play college football for 5 years. But in your final year, you're going to choose to come back to a school that happens to be as far away from Auburn as you could get. And you're also going to be married and living in this place called Eugene, Oregon. What do you think that kid signing that letter of intent would have said?
In a way, without knowing the future, he probably would have been a little like stunned and taken back for a second, because that same kid was such a planner and he wanted everything his way. And if you would have told him that, even though like everything you just said, there's a lot of good that was in that statement, but he would have probably looked at what didn't go right, and he would have probably been a little frustrated himself, not knowing what was on the other side of it. Not knowing the good and the positive and the excitement that came from that decision. And there's so much to unfold there.
Yeah, we're gonna go through all of it. Before we do, how would you detail the relationship that you and your dad have, and how it began to how it's transformed?
Well, growing up, he was the definition of an incredible father. He taught me everything I knew. He and my mom, they did an incredible job of just raising us and raising us up in a Christian household that had values and had you knew right from wrong, and you knew that you were going to be there was going to be a consequence if it wasn't right. But yeah, my dad is very inspirational to me. I wouldn't be where I am without him. That's without a doubt. And now I think there truly are stages of parenthood and like being a son, and kind of getting out of the where he tells me what to do a lot, and now we're just kind of friends, and like we were able to talk and go on a deeper level of like more than like just what I should do, and we actually have real conversation, and so that part I really enjoy.
Beautiful. I want to show you something that we found. I'm curious what your take is on it. Just hit play. And watch it for me and kind of offer your commentary.
You don't hand it to me, you just fake it. There you go. Let's play action pass.
How about you, Dad, and you put me up? Wait, Daddy, hold it.
That's awesome. Probably could have hit the ball a little bit better on that fake, but. Yeah, I think that's literally what I think about. When I think of Dad, and when I think of growing up, that was in Atlanta, Georgia. He was the coach at Georgia Tech. At the time, he was probably coaching Calvin and all those guys that went through Georgia Tech. And when he was at home, when he had time off, when he was away from recruiting and away from the complex, he was hanging out with us, and we were doing stuff like that. You know, he coached plenty of my baseball teams, been around basketball. He taught me exactly what to do on the football field, and you know, that's literally why I think I have the desire and the passion to do it, because like he taught me everything. I just wanted to go out there and do it for myself and learn all those you know, awesome things about the game. And for whatever reason, that's just what I wanted to do. Football always had a special, you know, part of my life, and I think it's just what our family shared with each other.
You wrote this in the book 5-Star QB. You said, quote, "The students loved me at first when I was a freshman and we were winning, but by the end of my junior year, I was being booed off the field by that same student section."
Mm-hmm.
That cut through to me. And I imagine this 18-year-old who beats Oregon, game-winning touchdown, to a couple years later, those same fans booing you off the field. How did you internalize that?
It was that was hard. I was their family. I felt like I was one of theirs. I literally loved Auburn more than they did. And I wanted Auburn to succeed more than they did. And that's probably why a lot of the times, you know, I would do anything to win, and why sometimes it didn't work out and it looked like I was out there just, you know, doing whatever I wanted, because I literally just wanted Auburn to win so bad. And, you know, I'd put my completion percentage aside, I'd put this aside, all this other stuff to win. And it didn't matter to me. So just to, you know, I felt like I was giving my all for Auburn and didn't necessarily feel the same from them.
When you decided to leave, was it like, wow, dude, like this was not in the car, this was not part of the plan? Because you're supposed to be my family. How was that for you there?
Yeah, that was the, you know, to this day, it was the hardest decision I ever had to make for several reasons. You know, one, I think you hit it right on the head. You know, it was like, it was my family. And it was what I always wanted to do my whole entire life. I felt like, you know, I wasn't necessarily giving up on a dream, but I was having to say goodbye to it. And they're like, it's difficult because you spend so much like of your childhood thinking about it. You spend so much of your childhood working for it and dreaming about it. And, you know, every day that's what I was wanting to do. You know, you were living up to be that. And then once it was coming to an end, you know, reality set in, and, you know, I had a broken ankle and things just weren't right. And I didn't feel the, you know, I didn't feel what I was supposed to feel, and I wanted to go out and, you know, I wanted to go do something else and start fresh. And it was tough. You know, every part of me wanted to stay, but I knew it was just better off just to go a different direction. You know, my sister, my older sister, one of the things I would always talk to her, and you know, we would discuss things, and she's like, "Look, you can stay, but just don't call and just complain about things anymore. Like, I'm done hearing it." And that's when I knew, like, she knows me better than probably anybody up to at that point. And so I was like, maybe it is time. You know, maybe it's not just me. But I think that those kind of things were important. And went back to family and how, you know, they had my back, and we all just felt like it was the right thing to do. And more importantly, I did. You know, I at the end of the day, I made the decision, and you know, I'm living with it, and you know, it worked out. It really did. It made I was able to make the most of it, and I happened to show up in an incredible place.
How'd you tell your dad?
Well, I probably told Dad before I told Dad. You know, like, Dad probably knew, and Dad helped me make the decision, because, you know, he was, when I was just telling him a bunch of things, and you know, we talked all the time, and he slowly stopped being coach, and he became dad, and he was now offering just, you know, parent advice. And I'm sure the writing was on the wall. He probably knew before that I even knew, to be honest with you. He was probably the one that you know, helped me get through the decision. He and my mom both. But yeah, I talk to Dad like all the time. Like, we talk a lot.
When you chose Oregon, how did you come to that conclusion?
So it was actually, it was right at the time that I was graduating from Auburn, and I didn't really want to be a distraction before graduation. I wanted to graduate from Auburn before I got off doing other things. And so right when I graduated, I decided to, that I was going to go through the process and transfer. And it was right about that time that Coach Dillingham had called Dad and said that, he was about to get the OC job and he wanted me to play for him again. And so from then on, it was just like, why not Oregon? Like, I never thought about it until the offer came about through the transition of getting in the portal and then people reaching out. And from then on, it was just like all roads led to Oregon. And it was just a very easy decision for me.
So you're leaving one family, searching for another. What exactly were you searching for, knowing your personality and how focused you are?
Well, to be honest, to be frank with you, I wanted to go somewhere where I could win. I wanted to go somewhere where I could win a national championship. So wherever I went, that was my criteria. Wherever I could go and be developed and win a national championship, have a chance to win a national championship. Because every kid in college football wants to win a national championship, but I wanted to go somewhere where it was a reality. It could have been possible. So Oregon was right there at the front. They always have great players, great coaches. They're in a great conference, and they're it's Oregon. Their brand speaks for themselves. And so at the time, I didn't even know half of what I know about them now. But I was like, the only negative is that it's on the other side of the country from where I'm from.
Would you say that in Eugene, in this setting under Dan Lanning, like you were playing with the most joy you've had in quite some time?
Absolutely. I think it's just the opportunity that is presented in the situation. It's fun to go to work every day. It's fun to show up here at the complex. It's a beautiful complex with a lot of different things, a lot of different toys to work with, and you just show up and you say, how can I get better today? And when you're around the guys that I'm around, the teammates and the coaches and the joy that we have together, and the atmosphere and the culture that Coach Lanning set up for us, it's not hard to go to work. Now the work is hard, but it's not hard to go to work. And I think that there's a fine line between the two. Sometimes I think that things are too hard for people to want to go to work, and therefore the passion and the love for the game's taken out. But here it's just, I don't know what it is exactly, but it is fun. It's fun to be, an Oregon football player. It's fun to wear the O. But at the same time, it's not given. You got to go out there and earn every single bit of it. And Coach Lanning makes us do that. And he keeps the fun in it, but he makes us work extremely hard.
I found it pretty interesting that we're talking to your head coach. He said when you told him you were coming back, you also began the recruiting pitch of a certain wide receiver to come join you. What's your version of that story?
Yeah, so we had quite a few guys leave after the season, including a receiver, and so knew there was a possibility that we had to go out and get some. And I never thought even before until after the season, you know what, I know he can play here, and I know he can contribute to the team in various ways. And so I just simply told him about him and said, hey, just watch him, see what you think. And he's out there. At the time he was wanting to leave, and so they watched him. They really liked him, and it was his dream to always play here. So it was a no-brainer for him.
Give us your version of the story of when he got his offer and where you were, what you were doing.
So I knew that they were going to reach out to him and give him an offer, and I really wanted to be around when that happened. So when I got home for Christmas break, he was at home at the same time, and they started. It was right after he got into the portal himself, and he was getting a lot of calls. He was blowing up. And so Coach Adams, our receivers coach, gave him a call, said, hey, Coach Lanning wants to get on the phone with you, stand by. And so Next thing we know, Coach Lanning's calling him, and you know, we had him on speaker and gave him an offer, and you know, I thought Tez was just gonna lose it. Like he'd never been as excited as that, and it was a really awesome day for the family, but it was a great day for him, because you know, dreams can come true no matter how big they might be.
Can you describe the dance that you did, if you remember that?
No, it's probably on video somewhere, but I don't remember what I did.
You said,
because I knew it was coming, I was just excited that it was happening. He didn't necessarily know it was coming, and I mean, I've never seen him like that.
he said you threw a T-shirt in his face and did a dance around the kitchen table like this.
Yeah, I got him I got all the guys in my family Oregon shirts, but his was special because he was going to get to wear them for a long time.
First time you met Tez was when in your life?
You know, I'll never forget. It was my first week at Pinson, and I'd been working out with the older guys that were in basketball. A lot of the older players that were playing basketball, we had fifth block workouts. Well, the team had it in fourth block. Since I transferred mid-year, I couldn't work out with the team, schedule conflict, school stuff. But I got to go in fifth period with the older guys. And so I didn't really know Tez until the day I went out there and threw for the first time. You know, we were going to get the guys around, we were going to throw. And since I was out there before school ended, I was just out there with the footballs, you know, ready to go on the field. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this is going to go. And the first person that comes running out on the field is this little bitty, like scrawny kid, one of the skinniest kids I've ever seen in my entire life, with the biggest head. He's just running out there, just like bouncing. He's like one of the most explosive guys I've been around. So his run and jog is just so graceful and just bounceful. And he gets out there, and I'm like, you know, this dude's pretty good. Like, he's the tiniest dude I've ever seen, but he has great ball skills. He runs great routes. And I asked him, and this dude played quarterback the year before. Like, he was on JV, ninth grade quarterback. Like, he didn't even play receiver. And that year, even in junior year, he played defense. He didn't play receiver himself until his junior year. But I remember that first day I was there, he was one of the best guys out there. And I remember specifically telling my dad that I don't know if this dude can play, but he's got the best hands, ball skills I've ever seen.
So the way he shared it, one night practice ended, and your dad said, "Hey, why don't you come over?" He never left.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recall about April 23rd, 2018?
So it was a regular day. It was right around spring ball, and he was having a hard time at home. And I don't even know the specifics, but he, had got to a point to where he might have transitioned to another school, and he was going to be a good player that year, and we didn't want him to leave. And so my dad was like, "Hey, why don't you just let things settle and come over, hang out with us for a night, spend the night, like catch your breath, and just let's let everything settle down." And he came over that night, and my mom made hamburger steak, and he calls it cube steak to this day. I don't even know why we remember that, but he loved it, thought it was great. He was quiet at the time, like very like skittish. And from our point of view, like we don't know Tez a whole lot. He's staying with us, like we don't know what's about to happen. At the same time, he's like, I don't know these people. I don't know what's about to happen. He sleeps fully clothed, like ready to escape at any time. Because at the time, you got to understand Tez's point of view. He was just doing whatever he had to do for himself. Take care of yourself. I don't know if he got a wink of sleep that night. Don't know if he slept at all. Probably scared to death of the situation. But then as time went, he settled in and things got better. We went through plenty of different things. I don't know all the stuff that he said, but I definitely have a story that was like one of the ones that was like definitely shaped our relationship.
What was that?
So it was after one of the days in summer, and Tez he didn't have his best day. He was feeling sorry for himself. My dad, because he was living with us, my dad was treating him like he was treating me. He was tough on us. He was going to call us out when we messed up. He was tough on us on the field and at home. Like he was just exactly like me and my brother. And you know, it was, it got a little shaky, and Dad was finally like, hey, I think it's just, maybe you should just take him home. Like, maybe that's what's best. And so we get home, and I'm like, all right, get your stuff. Like, this is it. And so I remember on the back porch, we get to just going at it, just arguing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's when I really like first almost got to see into his perspective and what he'd been through. And like, I had always had a dad that had been tough on me, and like, he had never. And when that begins to hit you, you know, it's like, wow, like, I'm blessed, but I also like want him to stay even more now, just to have what, you know, what I have. And I just remember, you know, like, you know, he's talking about his dad's situation. Like, you know, I never had a dad, and like, we're like crying, like we're in front of each other's faces, like having it out. And I was like, I can't take him home. Like, that's not what I'm doing. And so that from that moment on, it was like, it just clicked and it just flipped, and he knew he was one of ours, and vice versa. And from that moment on, he you know, he just called our house home.
You know, I can't help but think about Tez. I got an 8-year-old, and he said when he was 8 years old, he was lying on the ground in his apartment because people were shooting into the front door. 8 years later, he walks in the front door of your house. Safe to say, no bullets anywhere nearby. And now he walks into the front door of this facility and catching passes from you, living out his dream. How can you put into context, if you can, the path that Tez has had since you have met him?
You almost can't. And I say that because you can't put the right words to it, because I don't know enough of his story, what was before, to even know what it means to him now. You can see it by the way he lives, by the way he plays, all that kind of stuff, like the opportunity. But you know, Tez has been through stuff that I'll never go through. Tez has been through stuff that a lot of people won't go through. But at the same time, you have to remember there are people going through that. There are a lot of those situations in life that, you know, people don't always get out of. It really is a God story. Like, it would have never happened, you know, without him having his favor over our life, for us to be able to do what we wanted to do. And then, you know, with Tez just following his heart, and, you know, it working out for him.
Do you know what he wore on that first night that he stayed at your house?
Yeah, he had an Oregon hoodie on. How about that?
How about that? Why did you choose to come back to Oregon?
You know, I felt like last year ended abruptly, and there was a lot of things that I still wanted to accomplish that I didn't get to accomplish this year. And so I wanted to come back to have an opportunity for that. And while I had the chance in college football, I wanted to maximize it and use everything I could out of it. And because of the COVID year, I had an extra one, and I never would have thought, honestly never kind of wanted to do 5 years. But you don't always get what you want. You don't always get what you think. So I think it's best for me, and just to develop again, and to play more football, and because that never hurt anybody, is play more games, play against more defenses, make more throws, and then whatever happens after that happens.
If you could put it in a sentence, what has this school done for you?
This school has changed my life. You know, it gave me a different perspective. It made me grow up as an individual. It made me become independent. You know, it stretched and grew my relationship with Jesus, because when I was here by myself for 6 months, you know, a lot of time by yourself, a lot of time of just thinking. And at the time, it was after not like so good stuff. So, you know, you really had to hit the reset button and change your perspective on life. You know, where it would just beat you up about it. And so I think that the school just gave me an opportunity to be myself again, and to get out of the you know, the spotlight of you're playing because your dad played here, or you're only doing it because you're an Auburn fan, or this or that. But now I can just go do it because I love playing quarterback, and I love being around a group of guys. I love being around my teammates and leading a group out there with a common goal and go out on a mission and win. And, you know, we were fortunate to do a lot of that last year and came up short in some other times. And so now another reason you want to come back, just to go have another try at it and learn from what you did wrong, learn from what you did right, and go change it.
Well, having known Bo Nix since he was 16 years old and now seeing him as a married man with his adopted brother as his wide receiver on this team as they head into the Texas Tech matchup, man, that conversation impacts my life as well, as much as that Oregon experience has changed Bo's. And I hope for all of you who listen to it, I hope it influenced you a little bit as well. As always, thanks for listening. Share it with a friend, share it with a fellow Duck, share it in college football, and please continue to let us know the stories that you want to hear on the West Coast in major college football.